All right, everybody. So we are going to come back to us after we've done our install, after we've put all our virtual machines in. We've got our Metasploitable, Windows XP, and Kali. Now, one thing that I forgot to mention to you guys is when I did my original settings, I did it for 2 processors with 1 core per processor. Found that a little slow, decided that I was going to bump that. Now, to do that, you have to stop the virtual machine. You have to actually power it off or shut it down. There are 2 ways to do that: power off or shut down guest. Now, these are virtual machine controls that are done through VM tools, but I don't have VM tools installed yet. We're going to do that together. Now, power off, that's like pushing the power button and suspend reset. These are all power button physicals, okay? These are virtual machine tool stuff, and we don't have those yet, except for startup guest. That's just like pushing the power button. Now, the first thing we want to do, again, and this is a good VMware practice, okay, is a lot of the times your CD-ROM, see how I've got this Kali Linux still in there? Occasionally, and right now it's not connected, occasionally it will kick over to that ISO. So it's always a good idea to do that, to remove that. And if you didn't catch that, all I did was go to CD DVD drive and use the physical drive. Now, I don't have anything in my physical drive, so it's not a big deal. If you don't have a physical drive, then it'll set to say auto detect. But I do have a physical drive or a CD DVD drive, but there's nothing in it. We just, the main thing we want to take away from this is that nothing is here that accidentally boots to it one day, and that could overwrite. If you're not aware of what's going on, you just sort of next race to the finish, it can overwrite what you've got, and of course, you're stuck in the beginning. One thing that we do want to take a quick pause here and talk about virtual machines in VMware Workstation is it's always a good idea to take snapshots before you run potential, we'll call it virtual machine changing settings. So we're going to do VM update and tools install. We're going to take that snapshot. There, it's done. Just like that. Snap, done. If you want to revert back to it, we only have 1, so it's going to revert back to it. If we wanted to take a look at what we've got, we are here. There's the update that the snapshot that I made. It went so fast, right? And we can protect those as well. So we can apply protection so they don't accidentally get deleted as well. But for right now, we need to install VMware tools, and we can do that through install VM tools, right click, install VM tools. And what that's going to do is that's going to mount our drive right here. And it gives us the instructions. We're going to launch a terminal, use tar uncompress, and then execute VMware PL from VMware tools. Now, let's get rid of that. And we are in our terminal. We are already root. So now we're going to do a quick little make directory. And we are going to make it off the root directory. We'll mount our disk, which I believe it's already mounted. Whoops. There. What we did is we mounted it from our drive to our actual mount folder. All right. And now what we're going to do is we're going to copy mnt. Oh, forgot to include root directory. Mnt CD-ROM VMware toolset, this file, and we're going to copy it over to our temp directory. There. It's copied over. So we're going to need to change over to our temp. And there it is right there. No, that's not it. Okay, there it is. Now it's in our, I think I forgot to, I must have done something wrong there, but now it's in our temp folder. Main reason we did that is because most of those other folders are write protected. So we will come up to the top, change directory to our TMP, and there we are there. We're going to untar. So we're going to tar-x ZVF, and we're going to give it our old VM. There we are. It's unzipping it or extracting it. Now, if we look at it again, we've got our folder for this, the VMware Tools distribution. So we'll need to change into it. And here's all our installers. We're going to /VMware installer. So now to run through the installer, I should have given it the yes argument, but maybe this is good so we can see all this. All of these are going to stay default. This is everything that it's doing. All our daemon, all our libraries, the paths for everything is all going to stay default. We're going to install common libraries, common transient documentations, the tools for it, the actual configuring the invoking command. We're doing all that. It's never been done before. There's no need to do anything extra here. Maybe later on, as you progress with virtual machines, or if you're running specific instances, then maybe that might be helpful to you. So we want to install the main key. The real reason we're doing this is because this file system lets us share files between host operating system and guest operating system. Guest being our Kali, host being Windows. Okay. And then, of course, it lets us drag and drop files from one to the other. We can do the automatic kernel and modules, and then we're going to do VEST authentication. Yes, yes, yes. Default, default, default. Everything's default. We just basically enter, enter, enter till we're done. And I think this takes roughly 3 to 5 minutes. All right, and it automatically ejected the disk for us. At least that's what it tells us. I'm sort of a doubter, so oops, did not mean to do that. Now I definitely have to open it back up. So I basically, when I hit reinstall VMware Tools, I push the disk back in, essentially. What I like to do is make double sure that there is nothing there. And you can see that it is. So we're actually going to just, oh, it disconnected it. That's what it did. You see the connected and the connected at power on? Those are both disabled or unchecked. All right. So this is going to take a long time, and I'd rather not go into it. So what we'll do real quick is we'll need to log out and log back on for that settings to take effect. So we'll log out real quick. There's our operating system. We'll root password. Oh, I think I fat fingered it. I did. Go a little slower this time. There. All right, wait for our desktop to load. All right. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I'll give you the commands you need to run before we do this lab. Is when we need to run our app get update. And you'll have to do it as root. All right. And then we've got our lists, right? And then we would need to upgrade. Now, depending on when you did this, Kali updates every Friday. If you told it to download from mirrored sites, it will attempt to download all these updates while you're installing. And depending on how fast it installs will also depend on how long it's done it. The downside here is Looks like we have a issue with our library right now, that it's temporarily unavailable. I bet a reboot would solve that. So if you were worried about all those faileds, that was a network time synchronization, which did end up passing later on. You'll see random error messages pop through Linux, but typically it will retry, and most of the time it works. All right, so back at the desktop, we'll try it again. There we go. And it's going to do, wow, a lot of upgrades, 1022 upgrades. So I'm going to cancel that right now. You can do that on your own time. I don't want to take up much of your time. Here's what's going to happen. All right. All of these updates, all these packages are important for you so that you get the most up-to-date packages for all of these packages here. Now, all these packages are also all of these packages. Most Kali updates contain updates for Metasploit, Armitage, Burp Suite. I'm not sure about Maltego and Beef XSS and Faraday IDE. That's your text editor. That's what this is. No, wait, text editor is LeafPad. Sorry. I think Faraday is a programming language interpreter, but we're not going to mess with that in this class. What we're concerned with here is Metasploit framework. So we'll start Metasploit framework, and we'll see that come in, and it will create our database. It will log us into that as well. In the meantime, one thing that we do want to look at is it's kind of small here, so let's take care of that. We can go to displays and take our resolution up higher. Right now, I think it's set at 800 by 600, and you can tell that's pretty small. Let's take it to 1024 by 1280 by 1024. We'll apply that, and then we will actually keep these changes. Right now, notice I have to scroll up and down. We're going to full screen that and hope that changes. Yes, it did. All right. So now we're full screen. Everybody can see everything a lot better. We're going to come over here to our Metasploit. We're going to make our text a little bit bigger. All right. So with Metasploit, we have 1722 exploits, 986 auxiliary, 300 post, 507 payloads, 40 encoders, and 10 knobs. Want to read more about Metasploit? There we go. Now, this will be fixed with an update by the way. All right. Some of the cool things about Metasploit is these cute little banners that they've got. There's Bunny. There is one of my favorite here is this is Missile Command, where it looks like, you know, the old Missile Command game, and the score is 31-337. That's cool. All right. So the first thing we need to get a handle on is, what is Metasploit used for? What is its purpose? Now, we don't know what we have on our network. Metasploit doesn't really help us here. So we need to figure out what we have for our network. And we're going to assume that we've never seen, or we don't know what we have running on our network. We can, for intents and purposes here, go back to our home, and we know that we have Metasploitable 2 right here. And if we wanted to, we could run a command ifconfig to find our internet interfaces or interface configurations. And we see that we're 192.168.254.130. Now you can write this down, or if you don't know it, that's fine too. We'll continue to let this run in the background. Now, this little block right here, if you see this little block right here, that's what tells us when it's running and doing something. Now we know that we have that one there. So we're just going to do a quick scan. You can do all these little scans here. And a lot of people tell me, I'm nervous about nmap commands. Nmap, I don't get a GUI. What can I do? Zenmap is your answer. Now we know that we are on the 192. Let me put on my numlock, 192.168.254.0/24, which means we are scanning the 255.255.255 subnet here. And that's 24 because we have 24 bits, which is 8 bits, 8 bits, 8 bits. 8 plus 8 plus 8 is 24. If we have a 32-bit address, which is this. Now, it will scan IPv6 too, but I'm not so great at remembering all IPv6 addresses. IPv4, though, I can do that easy. So we are going to do a quick scan off this subnet. So we are basically pretending we are red teaming this. We just gained physical access to the network. And now we're going to scan the network to see what services and what's on the network and what we can exploit and what we can do with it. I'll expand this out a little bit more. And we notice that we've seen 5 hosts up in 4.38 seconds, like lightning fast, right? We're going to pull this over just a hair so we can see our addresses. We've got .12, 130, 131, and 254. All right. So if we're not sure what every service has on it, we can see it. 254. That's our network mask. 131 is another address. 130. Oh, look at all these services open. These are all the services you're going to attempt to exploit. Now, here's your command you ran for nmap. Nmap -T4-F 192.168.254.0/24. If you change to a more intense scan, you'll see that these commands change. If you do an intense scan with no ping, if you do an intense scan plus UDP, or plus all TCP ports. And if you look, 1 to 65,535. So by default, or not default, the quick scan that we did not scan all the ports that are available. So this is not a complete listing of everything that's out there. I recommend doing a quick scan or an intensive for all TCP ports. You're going to find that there's a lot more services on our Metasploit box than we are aware of. So we know our address is 130. All right. Now, what we need to do is we know that the network addressing, we know all the clients on it, but maybe we want to learn more about it, right? See that the MSF update is no longer there. We use apt update and apt upgrade. And Metasploit framework is already installed, so we don't need to worry about that. That's an old command that's still there. You can jump into Metasploit by hitting our Metasploit button or MSF console. Now, in your book, you start going through Metasploit on page 84. That's the Blue Book Basic Security Testing with Kali Linux. We're going to kind of go through some of this as well, but we're going to go into it a little bit more detail. All right. So the first command he has you run is show exploits. I'm a terrible speller, so don't forget you can just tab on through. And this is going to pull up a laundry list of all the exploits there are, and there are quite a lot. So if we were to go back all the way through this, we wouldn't even, I don't think we'd get to the top. I think the buffer overran. Oh, there it is. These are just exploits. And if you look, it's, oh, I got this. Let's see if we can do this better. All right. Maybe, no, it's because we're zoomed in. We're going to change this real quick. Bear with me. There we go. There's the real way it's shown here. And that's important to see it in this light here, that we can see exactly what we've got for every operating system. See how it's Windows, prior it was Unix, Prior to that, it was Linux or OS X, then Multi. And then before that, it was Linux. So we're going to actually change our font here to be a little bit bigger. Let's try 18. All right, and maybe. All right, so it's a little better. We're still going to have some overlap, and that's to be expected. All right, so if, for example, we wanted to search for a specific exploit, we can run our search command, and we'll get that there's a few off of that. Now, when we ran our port scan earlier on our system, one of these ports for this command that we're about to go through right here was not found. And if you try and run like a search on it, it probably won't come up. So you have to go in detail to our search. But what we're going to do real quick is we're going to use this exploit and we're going to load it. So we just loaded it into our Metasploit. We pulled it from the database and we put it into Metasploit. And we're going to basically take a look at some of the things here. We need to basically pay attention to a few major required settings here, because this is just one setting, right? If we decide to use maybe, I don't know, a different setting or a different exploit, we're going to have different settings. What we want to talk about here is our host and our host and our port versus L host and L port. Now, it's called something else in the book, but I call it local and remote. Okay, remote is our target, and it says so right here in the description: target address and target port, and the target port is 6667. So that port didn't show up in our normal everyday scan that we ran with Nmap. If we forced it to check port 6667, it would have shown that it was open. And that's what this exploit takes advantage of. It was an exploit done back in 2010. Okay, so our target IP is going to be our host. Don't forget, you do have to go capital. No, you have to set our host 192.168.254.130. And you can see now it is set at 192.168.254.130. Now, if we wanted to show info, we can look at the information about it, that this module is a backdoor that was added to Unreal IRC backdoor like download archive. It's been, it was present in this archive between November and 2010. So Metasploit 2 or Metasploitable 2 has this de facto backdoor installed on purpose. That's why you don't show it outside your NATed network. It's basically not something you put out there on the internet. Here's our references to our CVE details. And this is important here that we go to CVE. Come on, open and I guess it's opening link. What I wanted to show you here is all your current vulnerabilities and exploits, the CVEs. There's a default database you can use to access this, and we'll wait for it to come up here. So as you're searching through these systems and you want to see exactly what vulnerability is exploitable, how it's exploitable, and how to patch against it, this is where you're going to go. Tons of information. Here's the Metasploit modules related to it. Here's our references for it. The products affected is the Unreal IRC product. And you can even Google search and Twitter search it. So we have a ton, and we'll go back to home real quick, a ton of these vulnerabilities, and you can see exactly where they range as far as to score how bad of a vulnerability is it. The average weighted score of every vulnerability ever in our database here is 6.7, which is on the high scale here that we're sitting right in the upper echelon of danger, right? And this is why admins have been doing a poor job in the past. And I don't want you to make the same mistake. A lot of admins do the old set it and forget it Ron Popeil method, where they'll put a service install, it will work beautifully, it'll work great, and then they will never touch it again. They will step back from it, they'll lock it down, and they'll step back from it. Because if you've ever been an admin before, you've ever had something that used to work and you try and make it work better, you typically end up breaking it. And when you end up breaking it, you cost the company money. If you break a production machine, you basically are out that production machine. And it could be anything. It could be your database. It could be your payroll database. So nobody gets paid for a little while, and that's going to cause a huge headache, especially for yourself. You don't want to lose money. So it's a catch-22. Either you keep things up to date and run the risk of breaking something, or you set it and forget it. You Ron Popeil it. All right. So now what we're going to do is we are going to, after we've shown our information about this exploit, remember we're running our IRC Unix, IRC backdoor, where we showed our info. We are now going to hack our Metasploitable 2. And it's really simple. All you do is run exploit. We loaded the settings we needed. We checked it all. And here's our session. This is important. Session 1. And there's our connection. So I am 133 or 131, and I connected to 130 through port 44977. And if we look, here we are. I'm in etc/Unreal because that's where this module put us. If we wanted to go back, here we are right here. Bin, boot, CD-ROM, dev, etc home, media mount, root, users, var, or slapped at root. And here's all our services that are running on there. If we wanted to see our SSL keys or SSH keys. Now here's the this is probably the most dangerous part here, is you don't have to go further than this, right? This reminds me, is this VS FTP? That's an FTP server. So if we wanted, we can download. That's me trying to control V. Oh, no, we're not shelled yet. All right, so we don't have any sessions. I closed the session. It's not a true shell because we have to run an external shell piece for that. But let's exploit again. And we're right back in, and we're at session 2. But these commands won't work. It'll work in your XP one when we do that one next. But what we're going to do real quick is check and see that we're still in. All right, so we're back in our root directory. And this is the thing that I found kind of curious, is that dir is a Windows command, but ls is a Linux command, and they both do the same thing. It's how Metasploit is built. So if we wanted to, we could look into, where did I go before? Was it? No, it was etc. And what I wanted to do was view I must have misspelled something. I did put the dots. I didn't do VSFTPD. Oh, NF. And here is the file. So we could see everything in there that we wanted to see. All right, and it gets a little hairy because it's more of a telnet session, and it's kind of weird the way that is. But if we wanted to, we can push back and then check our sessions. We have no active sessions, and if we wanted to, we could do something else. But what we're going to take a look at now is that is Metasploit in a nutshell. If we wanted to search for Windows XP exploits, we would have to look for specifically XP Windows, because there's a lot of XP in there. There's Flash FXP, XP there. There is exploit. Everything exploit is going to show up here. So that was probably a bad search term for that. We're going to hop out of that now, and we're going to go through Armitage. I showed you Metasploit first because I wanted you to see exactly how to use it first. And now we're going to do it GUI version. All right. Now, look, we've got 127001, which is us, port 55553. And if you look, MSF for username and password, what could that be? And we're actually going to start the Metasploit server, the database, I'm sorry. And it'll go through, it'll fail for a few seconds, and then it'll connect. It's just the way Java is. So it takes a little bit of time. All right. So here is our Metasploit. And if we look, we have all our post deployments, all our payloads, exploits, and auxiliaries. So if we want to look at exploits, here's all our exploits. If we wanted to look at Windows, here's our Windows. Now this pulled from Metasploit. Remember, we already ran across 130. If we wanted to hit Telnet or Windows, SMTP, SSH, all of these exploits are available. Now, there are a couple of things that we need to take a look at here, just sort of getting used to where things are. All right. We have our console view. We have our downloads, credentials, and reports. We have our import hosts, our nmap scan, MSF scans, DNS enumerations, and we can clear our database. So we're going to clear our database. So we no longer have any units here. We're going to pretend like we're starting over from scratch. When we look at our hosts again, if we wanted to nmap scan, or if we wanted to MSF scan, or if we wanted to import hosts or add hosts. If we add hosts, we're adding a host specifically IP address. If we are importing hosts, we're actually importing hosts from a file or from a scan. Now you can save all those Zenmap scans we did earlier in map scans. Now, if you want to do it in map scan, we can do a quick scan, or we can do a comprehensive or an intensive. We're going to do a, let's do a quick scan. We'll enter in our address again. Sorry, that's our building address. I need to go back to our NAT address, 192.168.254.0/24. And there's our scan right there. And you notice that this process here is running nmap. Our console is still here. So we're duplicating everything here. And it ran a little bit. It took a little bit longer, if you see that, 5.74. Now, we know our attacker is 130. If we want, we can look at all of these. If we try and log in through FTP, it's going to push for credentials. If we try and check services, we can see all the services on there. If we wanted to scan it specifically, it will try and push an HTTP scanner. where it sets a remote host and it fails because the R host, something happened. I think it was this right here. It's that there's a dash in there. See how we've got this dash here that the syntax is wrong. So if we took a look at it and did our all right, there it is right there. See our host is set wrong. It is required because it's yes. It does ask for the threads. So if we wanted to change this, we would have to set our hosts to 192.168.254.130. And we'll check our info again, and now it's set. And then if we run an exploit, and this particular command here ran exploit, actually it said run J, so it's running the job. If we just hit exploit, it should run the exploit on it. And then this is a scanner for Telnet. Oh, look at that. Telnet scans for Telnet versions. So it's set for a set here. And what it did actually is it did enumerate an operating system. I don't know if you noticed that. It checked to see that it was a Linux operating system. Now we could change this if we wanted to change it to Mac. And that changes our label, right? But we want to keep it real. We want to stick it to Linux. When we're done with any of these services, we're actually killing off these services. So we can run let's go back to MSF scan. And run a scan against everything here. And that's where we get our, where'd it go? Our hosts, there we are in our host. And that's giving us another different scan here where we're seeing additional ports open up here. Keep in mind that this does take a little while because these are all the ports that it's scanning against. We're at 10% complete. All right, so we're going to stop that because I don't want to take up too much more time here. Now, if we wanted to, we could check for some attacks right now. If we wanted to, we could push to find. Oh, no, I don't think I set anything. So we are checking all the exploits. There was Linux, multi, then Unix, and Windows. All right. So all we did was push our attacks into this one. Now we know that it's Linux. So now when we push attack, we're going to see all of these that we didn't have before. And there's our Unreal IRC backdoor. That's the one we ran before. So if we push that one in, notice how all of this is already filled in. This target, when it's set to automatic target, what they're talking about is target operating system. Is it Windows? Is it Linux? Is it Mac OS? For us, we're going to leave automatic target. We're going to set reverse connection, and we're going to launch it. And here's our command where it pushes us in. We've got our back door. We've got our sockets. And if you look, it's now red. It's vulnerable. It's been compromised. And there we are exactly again. Oh, no, we're in Armitage there. We need to go to our, we have sessions 1. So we need to load sessions -I1. And now we're in our shell set session there. Oh, not etc. And now we're going to look at vs ftpd.conf. Yeah, see, still having that little bit of break there. And that's sort of the things that happen here is when this happens like that. Right. But we can push that shell out there, and we can come over to our console again, show sessions. We still have that one session, so we can session -I 1. There. And we're still stuck in that little loop there. So we're basically kind of stuck here. But what if, and we'll clear this database again. What if we are just really bad at Metasploit and we're really bad at Armitage? What can we do? Well, we'll still need to scan. Oh, I did it again. We'll scan our range again. I feel like it should have pulled more than that. Clear the database again. And we will scan, quick scan. I got to stop doing that. All right, again, 4.6 seconds. It still has our database set for this one. I really didn't want that, so we're actually going to clear the database. Again, we're going to close this. And we're going to pretend like, again, from the very start. So you just gained access to a network. What do? I don't know what to do. I don't even know how to do it. Let's play pretend, right? And this is how scary easy Armitage and Metasploit work together. I clicked the original, I clicked OK, and I clicked yes. So we're at 3 keystrokes right now, just 3. And hopefully I'll be able to keep track of the actual numbers here in my head. And I know I'm going to forget here soon. All right, here we go. I want to introduce you to the old wait for it to load. Looks like we're there. The Hail Mary attack. Okay. The Hail Mary launches it all out in the current workspace. But here's our workspace. We have nothing. We will need to run a scan. Hey, I did it. Oh, I just scanned one address, and that was a ridiculous host to ask to scan. I apologize. And I was so proud of myself for remembering the subnet that I didn't add in our subnet search. Oh, wow, we went faster. We're getting faster at 4 seconds. All right. We know 130 is our Metasploit box, but that's only because we've attempted it so many times. But here's what else you can do is you can select everything. Come on. Fine. We'll just Control A and select it all. You can select it all, and you can run a Hail Mary against everything. And Hail Mary runs every single exploit against every single host. You could do that. That would take a long time. We're not going to do that. We're just going to run a Hail Mary against our Metasploit box. It's still going to take a long time. So I'll start that now. We'll start talking about it. And the thing that I love about this is the really, if clumsily launching hundreds of exploits is what you would like to do, press yes. And we will do that right now. And here's all our exploits that get queried. And then they're going to start testing each and every exploit against that box. Many IDS and IPS will flag this, and they will lock you out of the network if that happens. If it's set up, it will lock you out of the network, and it should. You are pushing tons of packets through this network that's easily detectable and flags as very malicious intent. And here's our exploit launch stage where we're launching every single one of these. Every single one of these that are showing up right here, that's a launched attack. And if you think about it, all of these attacks have different settings. All of these attacks require a remote host or a local host or a combination of the two. And we're pushing it all. And in some of these, it won't even matter. There's a Cisco. That's not even a Cisco box. Oh, PHP MyAdmin. You never know. That might be there. WordPerfect Reflex Gallery. That might be there. Joomla could possibly be there. Let's see. Oh, we exploited. We got a service that kicked through. Another one. And here you see 1, 2, 3, 4 attacks that are available. And it's going to list our sessions here in just a little bit. But we know we've got at least 4 right now. Possibly even more. All right, here's our sessions. All right, it failed because it's trying to define it. We still see our sessions here. If I wanted to, we could push files over to it. If I wanted to, I could come over here and start running some post modules against it. And we can interact with it by pushing our shell here. If we just look at that, where we are right there. One thing that I forgot to mention is showing you exactly what I am. Right now I'm at www data. Shell 2. Let's see who I am there. I'm root. So I have full permissions here. That's scary. Now, just to dictate or show you how scary this is, I'm going to come over to my Metasploit box before I do this. And I am going to create a snapshot. Before Pwnage. Come back over to my Kali. Let's remove the sys directory. Oh, device resource busy. So, was it process? No. Top. Let's look at top. No, failed that one. So the scary part here is this PHP my admin. Oh, no, I didn't remove it. Oh, no, I started the cascading failure here. All right, but we get the point that at root, I could delete any file that I wanted. I could alter any file that I wanted. And I'm sure that our session manipulation here is problematic because of our update didn't take place. Again, here's our services. And I did not even see that. Wasn't it 6667 that the one ran against? It was. Why am I forgetting what it was? It wasn't. Oh, I know why it didn't show up, because the attack didn't run against it. If we wanted to push an attack against it, we'd have to find attacks against it. And that would cause us to rescan it and push it again. There it is right there, 6667. So now that we've run it against it, we've noticed that that is open. We should see. Okay, so we're failing to identify our host again. It's a ranged attack, really. All right, so that's how simple it was. We basically clicked on it to start it. We hit OK. Then we hit yes to launch the remote procedure call, or RPC, for that. Then we ran a host. We scanned against everything. Then we ran a Hail Mary. That was it. So 131, is that me? I forgot. Or no, it is me, because I don't have the Windows XP box up still. So to turn on the Windows XP box, of course, you pop over here at power. It's just, once you get started, it's almost too fun not to try everything against everyone. We'll go back to our Metasploitable. Nope, wait, that's this one. We don't want that one. We want Kali. And I don't know if you heard it or not, but Windows XP did boot. We'll clear our database again. Expand this back out. And we will just load one host this time. We'll focus on Windows XP. And as you can see, VMware Tools is already loaded on this Windows XP box. It's already loaded. It's already running. So you don't have to do anything there. It's already set for you. The only thing we've got to do is take a look at our IP address. 192.168.254.129. Totally Windows XP. If you look at it, it's crazy, right? 129. So we are going to MSF scan, and oh no, it's going to want a range, and I don't want to give it a range right now. We're going to add host 192.168.254. Oh man, I forgot. Now this machine has been set up by someone in Waco, and the firewall is off, and there may be a few other services loaded in as well, but no password needed. So that's what's really nice. 129. 129. We'll add that to our database. And there it is right there. And what we're going to do now is we're going to scan it. In our earlier attempts, when we did our Hail Mary, we ran a couple of hundred jobs, and now we're at job 219. So this is everything that's been going in the past right now. So our scans are a little. All right, that was an old one there. Our scans are a little behind. Oh, I did not mean to close that. All right, well, let's run our find attacks against it. And it's going to fail because it does not know what ports to associate each of the attacks to. All right, we're going to scan it. It did not run any attacks. Run some find attacks now. Nothing. We ran nothing in it. And it seems like this happened because of all the extra stuff that we put on it, the strain that we put it under with all the prior jobs. We'll close it. We'll kill it off. And we'll pull it back. Connect again. Yes. So this is taking care of two steps, really. We've already gained our infiltrated network access. What we're doing now is we are going to scan for a specific machine, and we're going to attempt to exploit it. And then after that, there are things that we can run on top of that. But for the most part, we're going to, let's run a scan again. I'd like to run a thorough scan, but it's going to take forever. You run a thorough scan. We're just going to do a quick scan. 192.168.254.0/24. We're just going to pull our Windows XP box and our Metasploitable 2 box. All right, and it was 129. If we take a look at 129, and we scan against it, notice we're at job 1 now. No services up yet. Oh, man, I did not mean to do that. So we're starting our host discovery scan now. Completed in 23 seconds. It's still running. Again, we can launch a Hail Mary against it too. We're doing all this stuff at the same exact time. Checking payloads. Oh, and the quick port only scans 100 common ports. Those are the ones it found earlier. $129 scanned, but the 100 ports it scanned were not filtered. Or, I mean, were filtered, meaning nothing's open for us to just walk right in the front door. Metasploitable 2 will probably be the only operating system you come across that does that. Here's all our launched look codes right here. Oh, we ran an exploit. I wasn't even paying attention. We got 4 different shells that we can look at. So let's interact with the first one. Oh, that's the Metasploitable. I guess we ran Metasploitable against, we ran the Hail Mary against Metasploitable. I didn't mean to do that. Let's try that again, but against that one. It's still pushing against 130. So we are going to oh, there it is, remove host. We'll remove that host from our workspace. We're going to try another Hail Mary against just 129 and see if we can't push that. I don't think we have any exploits. I didn't see it run anything because the scanning isn't happening like it should. All right, so let's go ahead and all right, looks like we killed off Metasploit, that the framework there was still attached to it. Let's go back to our original. Any GUI that accesses a command line original is going to be a little bit buggy there. All right. So we were able to push into Linux. No problem. But that was a purposefully exploitable Linux operating system there. I believe one of your early assignments is to push into a Windows XP box, page 95, actually. Yeah. So they want you to specifically push for the exploit Windows SMB, which is Samba, MS 08067 Net API, which I don't know anything about it. So if we wanted to, we could, come on, look about it, right? This module, a parsing flow in the path canonicalization code of the Net API 32 DLL through server service. This basically is one of the oldest exploitation events. And what we're looking for is our host, our port, and SMB pipe browser. These are all required. These are all the operating systems it affects from 2000 XP all the way with all the different languages, Service Pack 1, 2, and 3. All right. So that's the information about it. But if we wanted to look at it in a shorter, more abbreviated, we'll leave targeting automatic, right? But if we wanted to see targets, show targets, we're going to set target 2, and that was Windows XP Service Pack 01 Universal. All right. And we have payloads that we can deliver based off this exploit. Quite a lot. Didn't tell us the number. Sometimes it'll tell you how many there are. Probably if we had updated, this would have done that. So we are going to set our payload for Windows Okay, I put it in the slash in the wrong spot. My fault. And we're looking for reverse TCP. We've got our payload. We don't have our local host yet. So we'll need to set our local host. Which is us, and I forgot our address. So we are 192.168.254.131. There's our options. Huh. I thought we would have to set our remote host. I don't know why it didn't happen. Did you remember our remote host? I didn't. Let's go back and check. 129. There we go. So it's going to restart our reverse handle on this address with this port. And our session timed out so that this particular exploit failed. And I know I was able to get it to run before. I just don't remember what it was that I did. Oh, I know I did it wrong. Our payload. was the wrong payload. It should have been Windows. Nope, nope, don't show it all. Meterpreter. Reverse TCP. All right, so there's our local host. That's us, the target. Remember, our targets was here. And I don't think this is service pack 1. So we're going to set it for universal. Let's just make sure that it's set automatic targeting. Our remote host is still up. Let's run again using the Meterpreter reverse TCP shell. And it failed, but that's okay. Check my notes because I think I did get it to work. I just wanted to basically give us a quick definition, and everything you saw, it's the same through Metasploit. All the sets, all the targets, all the options, all the research, it comes in there through that. There are a lot of cool things you can do once you get shell. Once you get Metasploit shell, you can do all sorts of cool things through its background services. Downloading files, uploading files, clearing the event log. Now, on page 117, when you do the clear the event log, you'll have to check and change your user account settings. I don't want you to go through and do it through the operating system that you're connected to. I want you to do it through Metasploit or through Kali. Oh, okay. Here's what I wanted to mention. All right. And I really wish I was still in here to do this the right way. We'll push Metasploit back in. And remember, mine's not updated. Make sure you update yours. Reminder again to update yours. Let's push back into that Unreal IRC. No, it's a Unix. There. So now we've got that set again. We'll set our R host, our 192.168.254, and I wrote it down this time, 130. Push our exploit. And now we've got our reverse session. And who am I? Okay. What I wanted to look at was okay, here we are in processes. This is what I wanted to show you. These are all the processes that are running on Linux. All right. There's that telnet that I mentioned, and here's another telnet that I mentioned, but we're right here. 6337. I believe that was our port that we were connected to. Yeah, 6667 and 444. All right. Okay, I was 130. Our Metasploitable 2 is 130. So 6667 is our port that we're running off of. And these are processes. So we could be detected by one of these processes being shown here. Now, when you get a Metinterpreter shell, you're able to migrate, and I don't think this will happen here. Yeah, so you can't migrate here because we don't have Metinterpreter shell. But once you get a Metinterpreter shell, you can migrate your processes from one to the other. I wanted to make sure that this is not an undetectable attack by any means. So you can find somebody on any system by checking to see the processes. All right. Let's go back over here. And you can actually see it here as well. Here's our top running processes. This is what I was trying to get to run on the other side, but it wouldn't because of it's just the way that we didn't have shell really. But you can see what top running processes are. All right. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. All right, and here's the other way to see it, right? We know that we are connected here we are 130, all right? So we have an address over here, right? Well, I can't really highlight it because we're stuck here. But we have an address that's not that's exposed, that's not us. We know that 254 is our network mask. We know that .2 is our IP address that connects us directly to the internet. And we can see that through our trace route. All right, come on. Trace route. I don't want to do 6. Let's do yahoo.com. Okay, so. Oh, got a sudo. Forgot. MSF admin. There. No, failed to fetch. Oh, that's because this is purposely vulnerable. I don't think they update the vulnerable ones. I've never tried to update Metasploitable 2, to be honest with you. Oh, permission denied because I didn't sudo. Huh. I guess they took down a lot of the mirrors that hosted it. Whoa. I don't want it to take that long, but apparently there's an update to the Metasploitable 2, the one that I gave you guys on the network and Windows, not Windows, but Google Share Drive. The basic thing that we want to get away from here is Kali has a multitude of applications. So one of my pet peeves is when someone says, I know Kali, you need to ask them additional questions. What in Kali do you know? Because there are a lot of tools in Kali that is different, and I don't know anyone that's an expert on all of them because there are just so many. There really are so many. We've only looked at really 2, and that's because I thought Arbitrage was cool. There are a ton of others. There's a Metasploit payload deliverer. And all the additional tools that come with that. Let's go back to that again. I think we left off at Metasploit payload, reverse engineering. I mean, we're just there are beyond countless opportunities here. And the basic thing that I'm trying to get through here is just the basics. We just want to learn about the basics. Some really cool things here is the ability for you to go reaching outside of your NATed network. Here's the kicker, though. Once you reach systems that you're not supposed to reach, you are officially, breaking laws. And when you break laws, bad things happen. This WordPress scanner scans WordPress websites, one of the most popular blogging websites, and it will scan usernames, passwords, databases, exploits, vulnerabilities. It does a full CVE scan, and you can see exactly right here. If we were to password brute force using 50 threads, we're going to password using admin, we're going to check plugins, themes, users. All of this stuff is simple command line structured commands that teaches really important lessons. And what I like about Kali and what I like about intrusion detection is hopefully it makes you a lot more paranoid. And what you learn from this class is that no one operating system is secure. Linux may feel more secure because it's harder to use, but if you look at the current vulnerability, the current trends, Linux viruses are becoming more and more prevalent today. And it's scary because most web servers are Linux servers. And it's important that what we take away from here is that a tool this easily accessible, this easily downloadable, I mean, it was a 2 gig file, and 2 gig files a long time ago was a big deal to download, but now it's not. And one quick thing, we talked about it earlier, is I wanted to let you know the difference between a USB live installation and the difference between a USB let me just pull it up real quick since this is fast. WN9, X64, Kali, USB persistence. I know I spelled Kali wrong. We'll give it 2 processors, 2 core, takes up to 2 gigs of RAM. NAT, yes, next, go. Is I don't have to install Kali to do all these labs technically. All I have to do is use USB persistence. So I can install this USB persistence and run it directly from the USB drive. So if I were to burn this to an ISO, to USB, and push this onto a USB stick, everywhere I go, that USB stick will give me, I'm waiting for it to start here before I say anything, will give me a full version Linux operating system on a USB drive. There are some really, really tiny ones, so it's almost undetectable for you and whatever is going on. The kicker here is, and why I'm actually doing this, is it already has a username and password set to it. And it might not be so easy to figure out. Waiting for it to come up still. All right. Oh, well, loaded right in. Sometimes when you run Kali live, it asks for a username and password. It's root and Tor, T-O-O-R. But I'm already running a full version Linux. Notice there's no disk in any tray or anything like that. I can do anything I want to do right here. Whoa. And there's our updates coming in. We're not going to do that just yet, but we can ping out to the internet. We can run NSF console. Well, I thought it would start. Oh, it did start. I was impatient. All right, but we're in Metasploit 1722 exploits. We're at the development 14.16.30, which I believe was 3 days ago. Lots of options here. Also, additionally, there's this really cool thing where you can do recording, and you can record your desktop. So you can record any evidence you get. And if you look, it acts just like an operating system. We could go onto our Windows network and see what's there. Nothing's here. We have 1 gig available. There's our drive. That's everything that's there. And if we wanted to take this down, move it away, there's just tons of options for us. One of my favorites is, aside from USB persistence, is USB persistence with encryption. The thing that's cool about that is if you ever decide to do some real penetration testing and someone grabs your USB stick, they can't just plug it in and have it be a thing. And I want to remove that from disk. All right, but we will continue working in this class to try and get through as many different Kali exercises as we can here. Let's see. If you have a webcam and you're looking at page 119 in your blue book, you probably won't be able to do it because the webcam actually has to load through a remote config set through virtual machines. And if you're using Windows XP, that won't work because, let's see. Let me pull it back up. None of these devices are showing up. I think it may be an older model, but we've got a lot of problems as far as how things integrate from newer machines to Windows XP. The screenshots where you capture the desktop, that should work. Sound recording, again, will only work if your microphone and webcam were detected when the operating system loaded. There are a few additional things you can run where you can open up remote desktop and physically control the machine itself. And then you hit Metasploitable Tutorial Chapter 9, Part 1. This is the thing that I didn't like about this book, is they pushed you through all this, but didn't teach you everything specifically to Metasploit. I felt like you should have learned Nmap before Metasploit, how you should have learned Recon before Metasploit, how you should have learned the basics of Metasploit before you hit Chapter 9. And Chapter 9 is very, very short. And it's not like you're doing anything you haven't done before. Chapter 10, Metasploit 2 scanners. Again, we're looking at the same thing. Chapter 11, Windows antivirus bypass with veil evasion. Veil evasion is a specific program that's meant to bypass antiviruses. When you push your exploits through, it's typically pushed as a script or an executable. Executables are almost always recognized by antiviruses. Scripts are not always recognized. It has to be a special antivirus program to stop the script from running. There is a lab that gets you into Windows 7. That's what it was. Windows 7. That's what I want to talk about. Remember how we installed our virtual machine sets here? I'll show you why that was important. Let me push to the actual section where you're going to push that PowerShell. All right. Nope, misspelled it. We're going to start Metasploit like we did from very scratch here. And whoa, I didn't say the magic word. No, it's fine. I'm just being silly. We're going to set our target for PowerShell. You know what? Let's just take a look and explain this one a little bit here. All right, this is a script web delivery. So we could push this through a web delivery. And basically, this is what you'd put in a phishing email attempt, or if you had a bash bunny or a land turtle, or there's another one, the USB stick that you stick it in and it runs scripts. Wow, for the life of me, I just forgot. Look it up at Hack5 Tools. All right, so it's specifically designed for targets through PowerShell, binary PHP, Python, and RegServe or registry editor. It's going to need a server host. It's going to need a server port. It's going to need SSL. It's not going to need SSL. I'm sorry. It's not going to need SSL. So who's going to be the server? And this is the really awesome part about this is you can set somebody else up to be your server. In our particular case, we just have this one machine here. So our set server is going to be us at 192.168.254.131. All right. Once we've set ourself up here, all right, we've got our server host and we've got our payload options for our local host. And our local port is already set. All we have to do now is run our exploit. Oh no, I set us to Python. Oops. I was like, wait a minute, that is a Python script right there, but that is how you'd run our Python script. And if you look exactly what it's doing here, it's taking a URL open, it's opening this URL, HTTP this, and it's putting in this key with exec. It's going to execute it and it's going to read as well. So we need to go back and change our target, set target. Is it going to be target lowercase? Yep, target lowercase. And we need to do PowerShell too. I am so sorry about that. And we have our local host, local port. And we do have our PowerShell. So now let's run our exploit again. I guess when I ran that before, it pushed our job for that one. So it won't take long. You've seen it all done before, and it needs to be seen several times anyways. Interpreter, reverse, TCP. We're going to set our local host to us, 192.168.254. I think we are that. We'll double check. We are 131. Whew. Set. Oh, so that's our local machine or 000. We can leave that as default, and that'll be fine. Now let's run our exploit again. And this is what we want to see right here. We want to see this PowerShell command. And this is why it was important. If we don't have this PowerShell command, we can't come over to our Windows XP machine or any other machine. I need to hit Windows. And then we see how I was able to paste that in. Really? There's no PowerShell in Windows XP? So there isn't. All right. Let's do it on my physical machine here. We'll push this back here. Windows R. There. All right. We'll come back to, oh, look, it tried to protect me. It tried to push against that PowerShell. We're going to allow it. And there's our PowerShell. Did you see it run? It was quick. We'll come back over to Kali. No sessions because we ran through 192.168.254.131. Push that out, get around there. There's our PowerShell command right there. Well, I'm not sure what happened here, if we're still going, or if I lost it. We're just gonna push on through this. We will need to grab. No active sessions. We'll push back to this PowerShell command again. There we go. We got our session. And if we look at present working directory, we're at the C drive and we do who am I? Oh, that's a Linux command. All right, let's play. I'm on the YouTube one right now. So we're going to do a directory and we're going to go to our desktop. It's not that I don't know. I mean, it's not that we're seeing this. It's just that I know where this goes. If we run a quick look again, we're going to see these two desktop files right here. If I wanted one of these, I could download Kali dash. You know what? Let's go ahead and change that because that's a little long. Let's push this to the thing here. So this is the file that we're going to say secret documents, right? That's a secret document. We don't want anyone to see that in the company, but we have infiltrated this machine and we see that secret doc. Oh, I want that secret doc. Let's download it. All right. I think it's because of the case structure and the way it works. So we're going to push this back behind there. We'll relabel this one word. Back to Kali. There. But I don't know where I put it, right? So we got to check our local current directory. Our local present working directory. That's what I'm going to say. So it's in our root. So if we go to our root directory, there it is right there. See it? And then we'll pull this up. And this is a screenshot that I took by accident when I was pushing buttons earlier. But essentially, since we have a Metinterpreter shell, we can do whatever we want, right? We can check out the desktop. We can pull files from it. We can download files from it. But ARP, it can also see us too. Here we are at 192s, our 192.168.254s. There's a lot of activity coming from here, right? If we wanted to, we could also see PID, or is it info, PID info? Oh, I should also show that we've got NetStat showing as well, the services that are running. PowerShell. There's those services. I'm not running PowerShell on my machine here, right? I don't want to run PowerShell. Why am I running PowerShell? And you can also see it off of our task manager. I should probably put this in alphabetical. PowerShell. There's our PowerShells. And it's running off user YouTube. But if we pay attention to our process ID, we can see that we are actually running on 2784. If we wanted to migrate, let's say 2226, it did not migrate. Cannot migrate into non-existent process. So I put us in the wrong process. Whoops. Let's take a look at process ID. 8180. Let's push it on to TeamViewer. And it's going to fail. I did this on purpose. Oh, I did not mean to do that. I think it just yeah, it killed my connection. AVG killed my connection here. So that's kind of sad there. I wish I wish I didn't do that. In any event, when you push against your Windows 7 machine and you do the PowerShell command, let's explore what that actually said just a little bit more here. All right. So PowerShell, no open, hidden, and I don't know what C is, but the new object .NET Web Client, that's the client, that's the object that's running through proxy, no proxy. Set these webs request proxy credentials, net credential cache, default credentials, download string, and this is what it's downloading. It's downloading this file. It does it quietly so that the suspect or victim machine doesn't see it. Once we access that machine, notice how it spanned outside of our NAT. I kind of expected something to block that. Didn't happen. It's interesting to note. So if you want to take that PowerShell command, you need to think of a way to get it off that machine. We have VMware tools installed. Okay. That's how we're able to copy and paste, move from machine to machine. If you want to do that and you don't have VMware tools installed, what other ways can you push that off your virtual machines? That's up to you. You could email it. You could instant message it. There are a billion different ways you could hide that, in fact. So with that being said, I will let you guys go. This is going to be a great fun class. Just wanted to get out a few quick things, some small notes and things like that. I know that I spent a lot of time in videos and it seems to be a little long-winded, but please come back and watch these if you have any questions or if something doesn't make sense.